Welcome back. Thank you so much for giving us the privilege to serve you in this capacity, to provide you the freshest weather information here, eastern Pennsylvania, western New Jersey, from the Poconos down to Philly, Wilmington, Berks, Lehigh Valley into western New Jersey. It's an honor to serve you in that capacity. As far as our temperatures are concerned, clearly you can see we've got some cold air in place. Anything that falls is obviously creating for slippery conditions. That's only going to get worse here. I want to be able to show you the primary low pressure that we've been telling you about continues to circulate over Tennessee and Kentucky, and we're seeing pressures drop now off the coast of South Carolina and Georgia, and we're going to see a transfer of energy, and this will become the primary while this continues to make its way up over the Great Lakes and weaken. As far as what we're dealing with, some winter keys as far as the storm is concerned. I want to be able to kind of cover this. Warmer air going to be moving in aloft, and Mark Shanaberger is going to cover that in just a little bit, what's happening in the southern parts of our area, but we expect a change from snow to sleet and some freezing rain, and I think that's what we're going to be talking about. And then that sleet and kind of mix of ice during the overnight prolonged period of it into the morning hours Wednesday before we change back to a period of snow. But the timing of those changes in your area is going to determine how much as far as accumulation you get. Now, as far as accumulations so far, thanks for those emails. By the way, keep them coming in. Go to WFMZ.com. Upper right-hand corner under weather and travel, it says you can email your totals to us. We want to get those coming in here, and we'll pass those numbers along to you. And that's what Mark's doing right now. Mark, tell us what you got there as far as storm totals.
Yeah, some of these storm totals that are in are actually pretty impressive. And as Ed mentioned, we're seeing the changeover in southern parts of our viewing area. So that 1 to 3 inches right now around Philadelphia and southern parts of our viewing area. In most locations at this point, really the northern tier is the one location that hasn't seen about 1 to 3 inches. They're still around 1 to 2 inches up in the northern part of our viewing area, but a lot of these areas checking in now between 1 to 3 inches of accumulated snow. We'll continue to see this changeover move off to the north and the west as we move through the overnight hours tonight, so keep that in mind if you're heading out. You want to give yourself a little extra time. And this is a light, fluffy snow at this point, and that looks like it'll get a little bit heavier as we move through the overnight hours tonight as well, and we start to see that changeover. So some of these totals will continue to go up. Some of them across our southern part of our viewing area will continue to stay right where they're at as we make our way through the overnight hours and for the first part of the day on our Wednesday before we see that changeover back to snow on the back edge of this system. Now back over to you, Ed.
Thanks so much, Mark. Appreciate that. Yeah, so the southern parts of our area now, Bucks, Montgomery, Chester, Philadelphia, seeing that change over to sleet. And again, they're below the freezing mark, so sleet and freezing rain, even reporting some freezing rain. So clearly, as Mark mentioned, these numbers not going to be changing a whole lot because you've kind of switched over. That said, there's going to be a change back from sleet and freezing rain back to some snow tomorrow, probably around late morning or midday, and we could see a little bit of snow on the back end of that. I think for the northern parts of Bucks, Montgomery, Chester, still a little bit of snow, but Berks, Lehigh Valley, until we see that changeover occur, we'll still see some accumulating snows, and I think, again, these are total accumulations. The snow on the front end, which is what we've been seeing this afternoon, tonight, mixed with the sleet and freezing rain, and especially sleet for a long period of into the morning hours, and then some snow on the back end tomorrow afternoon. These are totals for the whole storm itself. And, of course, we're going to continue to keep you posted. For Valentine's Day, again, it's not going to be a good start, icy start, then changing back to a bit of snow. But the daytime highs, I got to tell you something. We're going to be talking about some very cold and windy air. Of course, we'll give you more details. We're doing another update here at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. 69 News starts at 10 o'clock. Give you lots more detailed information at that point. And then all night long on the AccuWeather channel. So be sure to tune in frequently. Every 15 minutes you'll be seeing a fresh spot. Following this storm, every flake, all the sleet, everything, right on through and into your day. So you're not going to miss a beat. You want the very latest. This is the place to turn here to 69. All of our newscasts. By the way, our news tomorrow morning starts at 5:30. And again on the AccuWeather channel 24/7. Be safe. If you don't have to go out, stay put and stay tuned into the weather. Anyway, we'll talk to you a little bit at 8 o'clock. Have a great night. It's been a fascinating storm to watch. I thank you so much for tuning in, allowing us to serve you in this capacity. We're going to give you another update in an hour. And, of course, don't forget 69 News starts at 10 o'clock. for the very latest news, sports, lots more details, of course, as far as the extended 6-day forecast. We want to just give you kind of an update on what's happening here in our area. This storm continues to be not only complex, but continues to evolve and change as we're watching very, very carefully. I want to be able to show you the Doppler radar here. That storm system, at least the center of the primary, continues to be back Kansas and Tennessee, or not Kansas, rather, Tennessee and Kentucky here. You can see right where my hand is, the center. But look at this, moisture now forming off the coast of the Carolinas. Clearly, we're seeing pressures drop, and at this point in time, this is like a kind of a seesaw. It's now tilted where pressures here were lower, and they were a bit higher here. Now pressures have lowered more than back to where the center of the main storm is. So it's kind of going to converge, and we're going to be talking about this taking over and becoming the primary storm. All of that to say, we've been telling you about snow on the front end, changing over to sleet and freezing rain before we get back to maybe just a period of snow during the day tomorrow. What's happening is I think we're seeing that changeover a little bit earlier than what was anticipated. We're not going to blow that whistle quite yet because you can clearly see on the Doppler radar, and go to another image here, but I want to be able to show you how close that sleet freezing rain line is getting. And the emails that we're getting in right now from a lot of you reporting that snow and then, again, just having some sleet and freezing rain mixing in. This is all kind of based on an algorithm, and you can see this is showing the Pennsylvania-Maryland border, but clearly we're seeing that some of that sleet and freezing rain and mixing in as high as some parts of the Lehigh Valley, Berks County area. For more information, let's go off to Mark Shanaberger right now, who's standing by, getting lots of emails that you're sending in. Mark, what do you got?
Emails, and keep those coming as we move through the evening hours here, because they help us tell the story. And even through the overnight hours, we're going to be with you on the AccuWeather channel, so keep those emails coming, constantly telling us what's going on in your neck of the woods, and we'll continue to post that information out to everyone else so they can see what's going on across the viewing area. Here are snowfall totals, generally speaking, 1 to 3 inches, mainly a little bit further to the north, 1 to 2 inches. And across Berks County, we're getting readings anywhere from 2 inches to 4 inches of snow. And like Ed said, a lot of locations, especially across the southern part of our viewing area, have changed over to a sleet and a freezing rain at this point. And we may see a change back over. In the next half hour to an hour is going to be the big determining factor of whether we see a permanent change over to sleet and freezing rain, or if this is just temporary. And York, we just got reports that they changed over earlier and then changed back over to snow. So we're going to continue to keep you monitored on this situation. But right now we are seeing some mixed precipitation falling in our viewing area. The next half hour to an hour is a big determination, and whether we see that change over completely to freezing rain and sleet. And at that point, we'll continue to see that line make its way off to the north and the west, and these numbers will at that point basically be locked in place until we move into the afternoon hours on our Wednesday. More on what's going to happen through the overnight hours and into our Wednesday. I'll throw it back over to Ed. Ed, you have some more information?
Thanks so much. Yeah, I sure do. Thanks, Mark, very much. Either way you look at it, we need to kind of turn our attention to the fact that and we've been saying that it's going to be a prolonged period of sleet and some freezing rain mixing in, and I need you to know that as we get into the evening hours and the overnight hours, as Mark mentioned, this next half hour to an hour, as we watch this, and if we continue to see that warmer air aloft work in, and we start seeing this kind of change over, remember, so we're talking about surface temperature right now. Most parts of our area, upper teens or low 20s. The freezing mark, we all know, 32 degrees. And so any of this liquid or sleet just going to freeze on contact. And sometimes, when we talk about oftentimes we get the question, which is the worst type of wintry precipitation? Well, if you're talking about driving, clearly freezing rain is the one, because, you're talking about a significant buildup on trees and power lines, and, of course, a glaze on the roadway. You can't get any traction, whereas snow and sleet, there's kind of a texture to it, and you can get some kind of traction to it. So we really need to be on guard here and watch this, because if we do see that sleet and freezing rain continuing throughout the overnight, which we expect sleet, but if more freezing rain works in here, we're going to be talking about a very likely possible buildup on trees and power lines. And then we're going to be talking about some winds as the day wears on tomorrow, and that certainly could cause some additional problems. So we're going to continue to keep a very, very close eye on it. So warmer air, again, that's the big story here. A lot of folks saying, how is it possible to have snow when you're at the surface talking about the upper teens? Because it doesn't have to do with just what the temperature is here where we are, where we live, where we work, where we play. It has to do with the column of air above us, and while temperatures could be plenty cold, which is what we're seeing here at the surface, just above us, 5,000 feet above us and above, some warmer air works in aloft, and so you got the snow falling, and it falls into that warmer air, it melts, and depending on the depth of that layer of air, if it's deep enough, those raindrops will then refreeze before they hit. That's what we call sleet. But if that layer of cold air at the surface is real shallow, what happens is it doesn't have time to refreeze. When it enters that shallow layer of cold air, it hits the surface and everything on it as a raindrop, but because the temperature is well below the freezing mark, it freezes instantly, and there you get the glaze, which is what we call freezing rain. Again, can be very treacherous because it builds up and accumulates on power lines and trees and certainly on the roadways and sidewalks. So we're going to be watching here over the next hour because we've got a good band of snow, a good batch of precipitation moving towards the area, and if we see that as sleet and freezing rain, it's going to be indicative of the fact that we're switching over, making that change over to sleet in the frozen, icy precipitation. But we continue to talk about, still have some mix. You guys in the northern parts of our area, you still got hanging on to that snow, but then that sleet and mix, sleet and freezing rain, we expect for the rest of the overnight hours into the first part of your Wednesday morning, creating treacherous traveling conditions. But we could go back to a period of snow during the day tomorrow, maybe around late morning into the afternoon hours as some colder air wraps in. That could give us some additional accumulations of snow. A lot going on here. It's a very complicated mess. Really want to encourage you, though, if you can tell us what's happening where you live, go to our website, WFMZ.com. There's a little link there on our front page that says email your storm totals. Just let us know what's happening there where you happen to be. If you change back from the sleet and freezing rain back to snow or snow to sleet and freezing rain, we want to know about it. We'll pass that along during our next segment. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you again in about an hour. And don't forget, 69 News starts at 10, and we will be here all night long giving you updates on the AccuWeather channel 24/7 right on through the day. And just, again, we want you to rely on us. So get your favorite bowl of popcorn, your favorite drink, kick back, and just stay home and be safe. We'll see you in a little bit.